Okay, in this series on neurophysiology, this video is going to focus on neuron anatomy and answer the questions: what's the function of dendrites and cell body? What's the axon hillock? What's the function of the axon in myelin sheath? And what is a synapse? Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Morton, and I'm the noted anatomist. Here is a picture of a typical neuron. It has dendrites that give rise to a cell body, also known as the soma. There we have the axon hillock that moves into the axon, which is surrounded by a myelin sheath with spaces in between called the nodes of Ranvier. And at the very end, there's the axon terminals. Let's now do this again, except spend some more time on each one of these regions. Let's start with the dendrites and cell body. This is the primary sites for receiving information. There are thousands of synaptic inputs that occur primarily on the dendrites and some on the cell body. And we're talking 1 to 10,000 synaptic inputs on typical neurons, but it can be up to 2 to 300,000 synaptic inputs on some of these neurons in the central nervous system. Now, when we say receiving information, what we mean is a neurotransmitter, a chemical that binds to receptors on the dendrites and the cell body. The receptor activation converts the chemical signal, neurotransmitter, into some type of an electrical event. This influences the state of the excitability of the receiving neuron. It influences the resting membrane potential. So dendrites and cell bodies do not generate the action potentials, but they produce the graded potentials that influence the excitability of the axon hillock, which does have the responsibility of initiating or not initiating an action potential. Let's take a look at the axon hillock now. It's located between the cell body or soma and the axon. It contains a high concentration of voltage-gated sodium channels. The axon hillock is called the trigger zone because if you influence and change the excitability of the membrane here, you can open these channels, which initiates the action potential. That's why it's called the trigger zone. So threshold is reached when the summation of all dendritic and somatic, meaning cell body inputs, are sufficient to reach threshold. When that happens, voltage-gated sodium channels open, and this initiates the all or nothing action potential. And that's what happens at the axon hillock. The axon is surrounded by, again, this myelin sheath with these nodes of Ranvier in between. Let's talk about each one of these now. The axon carries the action potential down the length of the neuron, from the axon hillock to the terminal axons. Most axons, many axons, have a myelin sheath, so we call them a myelinated axon. If a neuron does not, like you have in postganglionic sympathetic or parasympathetic neurons, they're considered unmyelinated. But if they do have myelin, the term we use is a myelinated axon. And myelin acts like an electrical insulation and protects the axons. The myelin wraps around the axons at regular intervals. Schwann cells myelinate axons in the peripheral nervous system. This picture I'm showing, each of those pale or tan shaded myelin sheaths, that's actually a Schwann cell. It's myelinating a segment of an axon in the peripheral nervous system. Now, oligodendrocytes, they're going to myelinate axons in the central nervous system. The nodes of Ranvier are gaps in the myelin sheath along the axon, regardless if it's peripheral or central nervous system neurons. These gaps contain a high concentration of, again, voltage-gated sodium channels. That is something you're going to see, voltage-gated sodium channels, all throughout this discussion of neuron physiology. The nodes of Ranvier enable something called saltatory conduction. Saltatory is derivation means jumping, because the action potentials seem to jump from one node to the next, and this is what speeds up the conduction of an action potential. More on that in another video. This is showing a transmission electron micrograph of a myelinated axon in cross section. Okay, you can see the key at the bottom, 500 nanometers, is the length of that black line. This is really high power. There's an axon in cross section, and you can see some organelles in the middle. There is the myelin sheath wrapping around this segment of the axon. That's beautiful. This is actually a Schwann cell, and there's the nucleus of the Schwann cell as it wraps around. So even though this axon, take a look at how thin that is, 500 nanometers. Oh my heavens, that is so small. So it's microscopic, but dramatic pause. These axons, for peripheral nervous neurons especially, they can be up to a meter in length, but they're microscopic in magnitude. Oh, how cool is that? Now, here's the axon terminal. We call it the presynaptic terminal because this is before the synapse. When the action potential moves down the axon and reaches the terminal axon, it causes a release of neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters diffuse across the synaptic cleft, bind to receptors on the postsynaptic membrane, and the receptors then convert the chemical signal of the neurotransmitter back into an action potential on another neuron. Let's do that again. Or it can cause contraction of a muscle, smooth cardiac skeletal muscle, or the stimulation of a gland or an organ. So in this picture, there is the axon, and then there's this terminal axon that you see, and the number of dendrites those terminal axons are associated with if the neuron is synapsing with another neuron. In this illustration, let's do it again, except focus. There's the axon terminal of one neuron and the dendrites of an adjacent neuron. And if we then see the space in between, that's a synapse. So if we take that space and blow it up, shing, like this, there's the terminal axon, there's the dendrite, and that space is the synapse. Now these synaptic vesicles contain in green neurotransmitters, which are released into the synaptic cleft. And you can see that green dot, that's a neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft, going from the presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane, binding to a receptor, which initiates or changes the resting membrane potential. And if threshold is reached and enough neurons are stimulating and the action potential, the resting membrane potential reaches threshold, then the axon hillock will fire an action potential down the axon itself. In this picture, in magenta, it's showing the extensive dendritic tree of two hippocampal pyramidal neurons. And the image shows all incoming synapses on the dendrites of these two neurons as green dots. It gives you an idea of the magnitude of synaptic inputs on dendrites that you can see when synapses are occurring. This is another illustration that's showing the pink arrow showing the axon. There's a terminal axon, which then releases neurotransmitters into a synaptic cleft that binds to, in this case, acetylcholine receptors. And because this is a skeletal muscle fiber, that's a nicotinic cholinergic receptor. And it initiates, in this case, skeletal muscle contraction. And that, my friends, is the anatomy of a neuron in a nutshell.